Hello, Ronald. Good morning, my friend. I'm speaking here from Brazil. I don't know if you had lunch or not, but in Brazil we say good morning before lunch, and after lunch we say good
Okay.
afternoon.
Okay. Then good morning
We
to
are
you.
okay. Thank you. We are here starting this podcast, coffee and cake with you between INOFO and you, Ronald, representing your work. We'll hear about it soon. But this is an activity part of our project in partnership with IUCN and the FFF program. So just acknowledging and thanks them.
Yeah.
Before we start, just a quick presentation. I'm an organic farmer working with agroforestry, a diverse agroforestry, but nowadays focus on mushroom woodlog cultivation. And I'm also part of INOFO, which is the Intercontinental Network of Organic Farmers Organization, representing more than 2.5 million organic farmers in more than 82 countries in all regions of the world, which we have the pleasure and the bless working together with you, Nana Bio, as also a partner.
Mm.
Nowadays, I'm currently the Global Relationship Director of INOFO, working more on advocacy, some policies, and pushing for the organic farmers' position, perspective, and needs. And I know that you, Ronald, you have been in organic market, trade, business for over 30 years, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
What keeps you here? What's the thing that made you say, this is the world I want to be in? If you could start with this and also give a short presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Thales. It's actually a beautiful question because I ended up in business without planning it. I was in the 1980s in the beginning of my. I was 18. I came back from high school and wanted to study history and sociology. There was my heart. I was political, and our society was completely suffering under austerity policies. There was youth unemployment for 75%. So regardless what you studied, you ended up in no man's land. So we basically were seen as the no future generation. It's difficult sometimes to explain nowadays to the people of the climate activist movement, where I'm also a part of, that we also really had no future. I had no idea what I would end up, so I just followed the flow. So I did not fully finish my study history, and I did work in a natural food store, and I became acquainted with the food systems. And the last thing I wanted is to become a businessman. I was basically fiercely against that whole concept of plundering capitalism. And I was already in my young years ready to do activism. And the only thing is that I met my wife. We already knew each other when we were 12, and we got engaged when we were 18, and we had our first daughter at 22. And so when I was 22, I couldn't go on the streets anymore. So that's what I did later on. When I was 50, I started to do Extinction Rebellion. So, I am the worst example of a logical path that happens to me. I literally ended up in business and started to do anything basically possible to just get a job. You cannot imagine that nowadays, where all the people can lean back and they are asked to do the work. But in my days, you were not even capable when I was young to bring the newspapers around. There was no work, and that
Mm.
scared me. Or I think that really drove me for perhaps even decades. I always had the fear to lose my job. So I ended up in food, and I just continued. I did my thing, and I saw what I could, and suddenly I could do things that I would not have imagined. And I was also not capable of doing things of which suddenly the left-wing activist also said, I'm not going to compromise. So I am a very strange blend of everything that came together, and it was always a struggle to be in business environments. When people ask me what job I did, I always hesitated to give an answer because I always felt a little ashamed that I was working in an area which I would basically not positionize myself uh, to be acquainted with that environment. So I always
Mhm.
failed on business related attitudes. I was not the guy that went to the bar and drank a lot after an exhibition and made bad jokes about people. I was just basically a bit of a freak over there. I didn't manage to match with the business business MBA guys that basically went for the money and run. So
Mm-hmm.
it is the last 10 years when I built up my own company, Nana Bio, in which I learned a lot in my prior jobs in business on what I would not like to do. And that is working with bad people. Yeah. Never work with assholes. That is my credo. The best thing you can do in business is avoid assholes, and that it's still doable, that you can have fun. And then I said, let's start for myself and see if I can create my own company and make it into a company in which I can also be proud if people ask me what I'm doing. And that is the dream behind Nana Bio, that I want to be an environment for myself and for the people that I work with, but also for the people that I buy from and where I sell to, that we feel that we are all taking care of each other in a way that we say you can hardly see it's business. And that is an attempt that is not easy, because capitalism, the rules in capitalism are pretty hard and strict. It is a vulnerable position that we take, because we always put people and the relationship with people and their responsibilities in their origin as the basis for our contact. So yeah, we buy from people, but we also try to join them where we can. We support
Mm-hmm.
them, we help them, we try to be a loyal buyer that's always there when the market crashes down or when the market is overflooded. We also help them out when the market is unstable. That was for both me and Jurgen, because I'm not the only one that created that. Jurgen Stolzer is the second owner, and we already knew him, and he was exactly like me. He was not meant to be a businessman. He still doesn't wear a suit. He never did. And if you meet Jurgen, you feel the same atmosphere. We are basically people that are walking in a world in which we both say, if I would have a second life, I would probably not choose it again. That's very strange to say. At
Yes,
the same
yes.
time,
No.
at the same time, I'm proud on what I try to achieve within the business environment to become indeed an inspiring place where people say, "Hey, this is not what we expect from from a business person." So
Yeah, for
yeah, it's a beautiful question. It's really a beautiful question. It touches me that you ask me that. Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
But you have said, I'm the worst or it's strange. But I truly can say to you and to the audience that the first time I met you, I got to know, I was looking like, what is this man? I didn't know you. I didn't know Nana Bio, but we met in one conference, in a World Organic Conference. And then
Taiwan. Yeah.
I looked to my colleagues and I say, this man is interesting because I also
Mm.
have a business aspect on my farm, on my local things.
Yeah.
And but I'm also working on activism, part of the organizations and fighting for farmers, space and
Yes.
everything. I really connected you. I said, this man is unique. So getting to
Mm.
know your story, getting to know your path, what you have built. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you are the worst example. No, you are unique. The uniqueness
Mm.
that you bring for farmers' perspective, for business perspective, it's breaking through some structures from our system, from our society, from our patriarchal ownership and things like that. That
Yeah.
we have to discuss it openly, and taking some points that you also have shared this with us now. You operate inside the market structures that many of us, of our people in agroecology, are suspicious of, right?
Yeah.
How do you reconcile being a businessman or a trader with the values of the organic movement? Also taking this point ahead, like when Nanabio sources from other countries, like I know you are buying from Serbia, maybe in India or elsewhere,
Yeah.
are those farmers actually better off being in your supply chain? Or how do you know? Do you have any measures that you can notice or evaluate it? And
Yeah.
the last questions before giving back to you is like in Latin America mainly, but I know in some other regions as well. But speaking from my own region, there is a big critic in the organic certification that has become just a market tool rather than a social movement. Do you think
Yeah.
that's fair or do you see it's different?
Um, Yeah, let's first talk about your question about how it is to work in a market environment and deal with countries or the continents in which the situation of organic farming is different. Um, what I really try to do is be aware about the power structures in my supply chain. I am aware about the fact that I supply Western customers that are paying me to buy for them ingredients that do not give them an issue. And in order to do that, we work a lot with smallholder systems, like in Serbia, where we build up from scratch. Especially Jurgen did that, build up from scratch farmers that had literally nothing to an active, organic, living, farming organism. And I was always aware about the power structures. That I was the one with the money. And normally in capitalism, you follow the money and you follow where the power is. And what I felt a permanent discomfort about these power structures because when I looked at the performance of the farmer, he had more to be proud of than what I was doing. That was what I told you, my struggle with being a businessman. I was not so impressed about what I did. That has improved now the last years, but it was not so bad. So I was there always with a kind of humble attitude and said, "Hey guys, are you aware? What the fuck are you doing here? That is, without you, nothing happens. Are you aware? You have the power. Yeah." And the world is burning and Europe is lost when it comes to climate crisis. So be aware that you have the power. But at the same time, these countries, for example, Serbia, they came out of communist times. They were not planning to create cooperatives. They said, oh, anything but a cooperative. Yeah, it was very difficult to organize people. Where in the South, collective gathering to feel strong and go to activism, for example, is very logical. There is a history of fighting the big power structures. In not all the countries that's the case. And what I try to do is be aware about my power relation in the supply chain, and I feel it comes for me with a huge responsibility. Because I am more in power on a few things, I have to behave. I have to walk slowly. Yeah, you cannot run with these privileges on your back and you can say, I am the colonizer that comes and buys and you do what I say. I always felt the opposite. I always, fuck, I'm stealing your water in the end. Yeah, if I really am honest, I buy your mango, but I steal your water. So I had these unbusiness questions in my mind that didn't help me to behave as a classical businessman. So I was open. I said, well, most of the time, what we try to do when we negotiate, when there is negotiations, there are always structures also in the local area where people represent the farmers. And what we
Mhm.
always try to do to keep it simple as possible, when we make a deal, we want to know, do you have the feeling that you have lost? Do you have a shitty feeling? Or do you feel that we treat you in a way that you feel respected for what you're doing? And if people say the last and they say yes, then we say, then it's fine for us. Yeah. Then we know that you are feeling treated with respect with the price that we negotiate. And then it's up to me to see if I can materialize that pricing in the market. And that is not an easy cake. It is
Mhm.
extremely difficult to get my own personal, social responsibility, my vision on how we should do business and behave. When the bigger you are, the slower you must move because you're big. Yeah, if you're so big like Unilever, you can really, walk slow, behave. Don't raise your voice, lower your
Mhm.
voice. Yeah,
Mhm.
be humble and moderate because you are doing something in the world that affects hundred thousands of farmers in the praxis of the pricing negotiations with customers that in the end sell about um, um, brands on shelves with retailers that have responsibilities to pay back their the loans to the bank, or they must create added value for the shareholders. That is, guys, that is not something that I can change myself. The only thing I look for, and that is what we do with the microscope, we try to find these customers of which we feel that they understand that they must also join. We always say it's nice that you buy from us, but we want you to join us. And joining mean just connect yourself. If I would buy your product, your banana syrup, and I step in, I do not only buy your product, I join you in your whole adventure on the background. And that is not common in business. Business is driven, and that is why it is also collapsing in a way. This system is collapsing because it is driven by chosen anonymity. It is not being connected is the norm. As soon as you become connected, you also have a problem because then you need to solve things in which your shareholder doesn't give a flying F. Yeah? They just don't mind. They don't want to hear the details. That's why a lot of people don't want to join me in the projects. We always say the best way to show you organic farming and what you achieve, we can show you when you go with us into the fields in areas where you disappear in nature, where you could not hold it for a possible that there was farming possible, and they do it with their half a hectare of raspberries in the middle of a nature reserve. And you know they do it already for over 100 years with whole generations. That story keeps me alive, but in business it's very difficult to express that without having the people in the area. It is really a haptic, we call it a bodily experience. Yeah. If you want
And it
to talk
demands a lot
about
of
climate
energy.
crisis, yeah, true. It costs a lot of energy, but it brings me also into the fire to fight for it. Yeah. When I go to India, like I did last year, and I stay there in 43 degrees with a humidity of 85%, then I realize that there are still people picking bananas in these circumstances. Yeah. And same with Ecuador. And feeling that in my own body makes me aware that I can talk with people. Hey, do you think that you're only buying banana puree? Do you have a minute? Are you aware what these young generations are doing for you with their machetes? They chop a banana. How do you call it? Not a total cube or something. The whole banana is chopped out, and they carry that on their back in 40 degrees day in day out, and then they bring it to the selection. And you know they carry that with their own body. They bring it and they sweat and they and that is what I try to do. I try to say to people, as soon as you think that you can only buy the product, you're wrong. You miss the essence. Yeah. And then I try to give a very broad picture where my organic passion for not using chemicals and fertilizers comes in, where my food sovereignty topic comes in, where my smallholder love comes in. And then I hope that people listen. And some do. And then they say, well, this guy is so passionate. We also trust what he does. So let's buy from him. That's how it works most of the time in practice. Because they can easily get away. There are thousands of others that can do it, what we do, but they don't.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You have shared many, many
Yeah.
interesting points that I would like to explore, but I will try to keep it into the topic where we are
Yeah.
talking about cooperative stewardships and market access and things like this. So you were mentioning the experience of organizing together smallholder
Yeah.
farmers in a collective space like a cooperative and the
Yeah.
difference in cultures in different regions and countries.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know I'm not, if I'm not wrong, you had already experience in buying from one organic farmer, like a company, but organic farmer, like an individual. And you also have experience in buying from cooperatives,
Yes.
from many smallholder farmers, part of
Yeah.
that, which
Yes.
is beautiful. But
Yeah.
when we talk about business, looking to the EU regulations and recently changes, can you give us an overview what like would be the pros and cons on that? What is the biggest challenge for you being a business and activist together, looking because we cannot forget the business as
No.
you told me. Then you have a
No.
big challenge when you take the price from the farmers, they are happy, but then you have to look to your margins, your profits, and you say, "Oh my God, how can I manage the numbers?" And then you look to the regulations where EU did some critical changes recently. How do you match this everything and see, no, this is the best way, or no, forget it, it would be here? Or is
Yes.
there any best way?
Yeah. An excellent question again. Um, I was furious. I was the only one in the Opta meeting that was against the plans of the European Commission to treat third countries with an extra control regime on the smallholder setting, I said, this is absolutely the bloody fucking limit. Yeah, this is colonialism in a suit. This is 21st century colonialism in a suit. How can we assume that automatically third countries are a larger risk for the organic integrity in Europe? Based on what? Based on that ridiculous data collection in which you only get a lot of data because you don't trust them anyway, and you start to ask for pre-shipment samples, delivery samples, samples at production, samples on the end product, and then in the end it turns out that there is always something with banana. I was furious there. I was really furious. At the same time, I must say, from a business perspective, smallholder farms are for some industries an absolute nightmare. When I look at traceability, when I look at homogenized product, if there is one farmer in a collective of 50 raspberry farmers that does a dirty job, he kills the other 50. Yeah. So from the perspective of customers and buyers, they want one plantation, they want the colony back with one boss that decides what to do. And your setting with all these smallholder individual entities, that is a nightmare for business. And it is your way of protesting. I see smallholder system as a way of protest.
Amazing.
And that's why I like you. Yeah? Because what we want is a plantation.
Yeah.
We want one plantation with 100 hectares of raspberries, preferable in Bulgaria, where the land is for free and you can buy somebody that takes care of it. And then we must absolutely do our best to get 500 farmers in Serbia. They all have half a hectare. We must supply a truck to a customer which sees that truck as a batch. And he says, can I be sure if I put these raspberries in my baby food product that we can assure the... I said, no, I can't. You know why? Because there is no homogeneous product. There is product from 500 farmers in the truck. And you know what? That is why I like organic, because it's the best way to assure that food sovereignty and food safety is assured for the coming future. Because what we built as the West, as being the reference for agriculture, is simply dying. Our system is dead. So we better help them and save them and support them that they continue to do what they do. And the big buyers don't understand it. The only language they know is the language of the consolidated power with its specific words, specific idiom. And that is where your language as the smallholder farmers that are not only growing bananas, but they are aware they are doing agriculture. There is a cultural context related to your agri performance. Do you think that we still have an agriculture in the Netherlands? You know, culture we do in the cities and agri we do in big areas where we consolidate everything together, do it for very low prices, highly intensified, with a lot of technology, machineries, poison and fertilizer. And that is not what I call a living agriculture. That is just producing proteins when you speak about animals. In biodynamic farming, the animal is a living being, part of a living system. So the language is the problem. We cannot use the same language. And that is why I do agree with you that dealing with smallholder systems from a business perspective creates specific challenges. At the same time, it is also the best way for us all, because we do not have one farm. We have multiple farms, Serbia with the microclimates, so that in the end, when the climate crisis hits an area, there are always a few farmers that still have product, because it's not that one farm. Yeah. So I see you as a life insurance on the long term for our food supply, where you are treated like dirt by authorities in the West that still treat you and want you to run as a colony. And I'm so glad that you refuse that. That's why I support INOFO. The only reason why I support INOFO is that the essence of the discussions in agriculture is about the power structures. They must change. Colonialism has ended. And do not open a new chapter with all your compliance and your laws. Don't do that. And that is where I am absolutely very outspoken. It irritates me. I am ashamed. I am ashamed if the European Union decides to treat you like a third country. What do you mean with third? What is the third? Yeah, why are we always the norm? Why are we always the reference with our food supply? I can tell you that I sell product to people that cannot distinguish a raspberry from a strawberry. The only thing they know is that I'm too expensive. And when I come to your places, I land in an energy and a world in which I already experience that you did not destroy what we already lost. And that is being connected with what you do. Our biggest issue in Europe and the Western capitalist world is that we lost connection with all that matters. And that is why, indeed, business-wise, your systems are a nightmare. And at the same time, they are the same systems that we need to support and change the other systems and just let them stop.
It's crazy how many contradictions we have in the table, and even so, we keep moving and support each other. It's so inspiring.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
mentioned something here about the smallholders business and realities that I like to call it like the smallholder romanticism trap.
Yeah.
Because in one way we see the benefits and the needs and the importance, but in another way the business perspective is very, very challenged, as you have shared your own experience with us. Would you see any kind of solution or alternative to solve that? I mean, you as a company are focusing on supporting smallholders, working with cooperatives, group of farmers, but you have mentioned that you know from business work that big players, they don't like that because it's very tough, it's very
Mm.
challenging. Would you be any solution for that? I mean, maybe if we have an intermediary supporting cooperatives to make all this ready to offer to big buyers, or no, cooperatives by themselves should be organized. You see any other solution to overcome this romanticism and go into real life change that we need? Because we smallholders, we need, you know that. You have been
Mm.
walking around the world, visiting many farmers in different regions and continents. In the end, the reality is the same. Farmers, smallholder farmers are suffering, are trying to survive to get their own subsistence. They are not thriving or growing so much. We have many challenges on market access. We want to expand our work. We want to be recognized what we are doing, not just on food production, but the whole environmental and society care. But the business world is giving a shit for that, we know. So talking about selling the product with a better price and being recognized that, what is your experience or which solutions, or you say, Thales, no solution, my brother, sorry.
Well, the interesting thing what you touch is that there are two levels of which you can discuss this. There is agriculture worldwide, food producing, and there is a food system. And the food system is dominated worldwide as much as they can by the former colonizers that still want us to sell and eat products where they have interest in. And that is sugar, salt, and fat. Yeah, that is the large colonial ingredients are sugar, salt, and fat, and you could also say coffee and cacao. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at what we eat, I think we should eat a lot from what we could grow in the Netherlands, and we eat the wrong things the whole year. So if you assume that it is needed to eat fresh raspberries in plastic packagings 24 hours a day, 365 years, then you need to change your food system around it. That's a lot of work. And then you don't want 5,500 raspberry farmers with zero point 0.1 hectare. Then you want a farm. Yeah. But if you say, well, raspberries, we only have 6 weeks. Yeah. From the Netherlands and Belgium. And we have a few farmers that grow it and then it's sold out. Yeah. Then you have a different system. But because we want to eat bananas in the Western world the whole year for 99 euro cents a kilo, we need to build up systems in which you fly with planes and pesticides run by 2 or 3 banana farms that are supported by financial institutions that make them even create the universities to teach people how to grow bananas. So we have an agriculture that has adjusted itself to a food system that is basically constructed by the ones that formerly colonized the ingredients and said, well, now we are going to be occupied with what you need to eat. And as soon as we dare to doubt the assumption that we know what is the best way to eat worldwide, you could see a lot of the logic fall away in the boundaries that we now encounter, because we are basically acting in a very stupid food system. We are eating the wrong things that are not growing in our region with a lot of force, yeah? And then we start to do it with all of us, yeah? When suddenly things are a hype, everybody starts to eat pitaya puree in the morning. Well, is that a human right? Is to eat pitaya in the West a human right? I don't see it. Eat an apple. Apples grow here already for centuries, yeah? Eat an apple and take a pear. And if you are lucky in the Netherlands, take an apricot or whatever, yeah? So as soon as you debate the structure of agriculture, you need also to debate the power structures of the food system that run the show. And that is connected. And there I am with you. Of course, you cannot apply to their demands. You are the ones that really we like to paint you in one system. We don't like 800 fences with individual properties of farmers. At the same time, where we do have an added value for sure is in the exchange of knowledge and experience on how to grow things in difficult circumstances. And that is my plea for your question. If you want to bring people together, it must be the case that it is almost obliged, when you buy so much, to go out there and speak with farmers about their daily lives. And then say, hey, thank you for sharing that with me. I understand your worry. I hear you. I hear you about young people that go to the city and who is going to pick your fruit in the future. Shall I help you with a plan? Shall I go back to my Western country and tell my shareholders, if we don't support the problems there, they might end up in 5 or 10 or 15 years from now that there are no bananas anymore in certain countries. And that is where I feel that it all starts, not with policy papers. It starts with people that simply take the time to go out and hear what you have to say. You're not heard. You are the mystery guest in agriculture with your smallholder farms. We all think you're poor. We all think that you cannot do agriculture. We have no idea about the knowledge that is there, which we all threw away with our technology orientation. So yes, what I plea for is being connected as an obligation in food. That is important. And that's what we do. We always ask customers, it's nice that you buy from us, but would you like to share with time so that we can both go to the orchards, and then I can explain you why we buy there, and I can also explain you why we are worried for the future. And then we hope that the farmer sits together with the big buyer from the company that we supply, and that they both speak and that he understands your issues, but also the other way around. We don't romantize. We also hold you accountable for listening what he needs or she needs. Yeah? Because farmers are sometimes not aware that you are growing things for high-end markets with huge liabilities. They have no idea. They wash the fruits in chlorate because they think America wants it. And in Europe, chlorate is forbidden. Yeah? And they think they are doing something
here
good.
In Brazil.
And it's obliged in Brazil.
Yes.
Yeah?
It's crazy.
So, and mutual understanding starts with the fact that we both say that regardless of the power structures, I need you and you need me. And if we can find that basis, we can also both agree that we need to solve bigger issues than our markets only. If the planet is collapsing, the markets are gone as well. The best way to cherish our markets is to keep the planet running. So is it so strange that you say, hey, guy, I do my best on my 1 hectare to keep Earth alive. And the only thing I need from you, don't make my life more miserable than it already is. Yeah? Support me where you can. And then I am connected with you. So we align on the wrong things. We align on greed. We align on take the money and run. We must align on saving Mother Earth, and then we have a mutual goal, and suddenly everything becomes very easy. Take care of
Sure.
each other in order to be
Sure.
able to care for Mother Earth in the end. And that is
Uh-huh.
where I am unsuitable. And sometimes I give presentations at companies and I say these things just as angry as or passionate as I am right now. And I always resonate. Even the largest CEO said, "What the dare to say what keeps me awake at night?" Then people are honest and say, "I am awake at night on how do we keep things running." And
Mm-hmm.
I don't even dare to speak with my shareholders about the fact that in the end, when we lose the agriculture and the fertile soils, it is the end of our business models. And
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and there I feel that with just recognizing each other, meeting each other, shaking hands take time, you will have more understanding in the, let's say, simple business is bad and they only come here to rob my the orchard. And at the other time, it also desimplifies the picture that we have from all the smallholder farms in which we think that they are just poor and we can steal their raw materials and take the money and run. And if that starts not immediately with certification schemes, forget about just just meet up, speak with each other, visit each other. If I would bring you to my customers what they are selling in Europe on the shelf as baby food, you would say, Ronald, I would not sleep one night. And if we go to your area and you explain me how you're dealing with floods and all the things that happen to you, we would say, I would not sleep one night. And then we meet up, take a coffee, and said, we both don't sleep. Yeah. Let's try to wake up. You understand what I mean?
Sure, sure. No, it was very, very interesting when you mentioned like the need of a round way understanding, not just from the business
Exactly.
part, understanding the farmers, but
Exactly.
as well as the farmers understanding. Because
Yes.
if you come to Latin America and talk to a farmer here, he will never understand the German or the Dutch market with these high
No.
standards and things like
People
that.
have
So
no idea.
exactly. So this round way of
Yes.
understanding, knowledge sharing, it's very, very important. But commonly that does not happen because, as you said, the business they are just looking for numbers. They are looking for things, and they come and they want to pick and leave. Like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You
It
were
is
an
the
asset. Now, yeah, please.
Exactly. It is the functional anonymity that is created, and that must stop. And when we sit together, as you say, we must agree on one thing, that the prerequisite of sitting together is based on the fact that we recognize each other with the same value that we recognize and want to be recognized ourselves. So in that setting, that setting must be a decolonized setting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
For sure.
fundamental. And I go to countries and said, first, I would like to apologize. I come from the Netherlands, and we ruined your country already from the 18th century in the north of Brazil. We started to
Mm-hmm.
grow sugarcane, and I want to apologize. I was not born yet, but if I look at my history, I feel ashamed. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I am here. That I hope that we can at least achieve a way of working together that does not resonate you into the colonized feeling of the colonizer. And as soon as you feel that, would you be so kind and let me know so that I can wipe it out of my system? And I did that with Ecuador. I did that. I asked people, please, I know I'm the colonizer. It's in my veins. And I know that you dive under as soon as I appear. Please let us discuss. And we had meetings in which we cried. The people said,
Wow.
this is the first time you ask us about colonized and being colonized and how we can change that. That is the first time in my life that somebody wants to know how we feel every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't go to Ecuador only for the bananas. In the end, I did not even buy bananas from them anymore, for circumstances in Ecuador that were not of their blame. But I still kept the contact with the people. And I recently joined them in their 5-year anniversary, and they invited me as the only person from outside because they say you're part of the family. I said, I don't even buy from you anymore. Yeah, but we want you. You're part of the family. And that is because we debated these things.
Mm-hmm.
And we must
Sure.
dare to speak about the pain
Mm-hmm.
that we created with our way of organizing, colonizing the countries that we used to do. And it is not finished yet, friends. Of course, slavery is over, and the colonized structures, but it is still in our way that we are basically created in the system. And I need you to give me feedback. I am challenged if you say, hey, what do you think? That we always are looking for white guys over 50 with a company to take the microphone. So as soon as I get the microphone, I want to show to you, I hear you. That's why I speak out, activist. I want to know
Yeah.
you're not the only one. That is
No,
the
it's amazing.
solidarity I feel.
Yes, but this what you represent for us, smallholder farmers, and this mindset, because we work with international institutions, agencies to support the rural development, the organic movement,
Yeah,
but
the blah,
always
blah,
when
blah.
you see when we see the calls or the proposals, always there are colonized aspects, always
Exactly.
this kind of mindset comes in a way that the global south will benefit somehow the
Yes.
colonizers. Of course, there isn't colonization anymore, but in a way we know that. So
Yes.
the perspective that you bring to the table, like open, let's open this and talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is our history. So I wish my plea or my wish would be like we need more Ronalds in the world,
Mm.
to speak loudly to the society in the business and the farming and the whole food systems, because there are thousands of incoherences and contradictions. One example, if you come to my house, you open in the kitchen furniture, you'll find German chocolate. Because when I go to
Yeah.
Germany, it's much 10 times cheaper to buy organic chocolate bar instead buying in Brazil, which produce a lot of organic chocolate.
Yeah.
But what then I go
Yeah.
in an European country who has
Yes.
not one even cocoa tree, I can
Yeah.
buy it cheaper. That's something and people they look it as
Absolutely.
a normal and they okay,
Yes.
I accept that. But no, we
Oh,
have to put it here and say what is going wrong. But
yes. I totally
society
agree with
doesn't
you.
like to touch it so much. They don't like to discuss it because it's comfort. Okay, here it's good to
Absolutely.
me, here it's good to you. Let's keep
Yes.
the life as normal. So I would love to stay hours discussing with Ronald, but we are reaching our time. I would like
Yes.
to go to like an ending perspective. If you could advise INOFO members, INOFO cooperatives, associations, and even other groups who are not part of INOFO yet, and I also take the moment to invite organic farmers association around the world to join INOFO, you are more than welcome. And
Yeah.
on what would you suggest or what tips would you give for farmers organizations, cooperatives to engage, to relate with traders or with business people like you? And please feel free the space also to give a final message and a closing statement.
Yes. Thank you. Um, yeah, this is a question that is really an interesting one because, on the one hand, I would like to say try to avoid as much as you can export to countries that are not willing to connect with you. Yeah. Just don't. Yeah. And focus yourself on selling as close by in your own country to your own population as much as you can. And in case you need to export, be aware that a lot of the export is based on a globalized capitalist world in which the added value is stolen as much as they can. In Europe, they take the added value, they just want your raw materials, and that's it. Yeah. So look for partners. And as soon as you start to talk with people about business, be honest about what you respect in the what you expect and what respect you demand. when you do business. And if they are not willing to do it, refuse it. Don't do it. Because on the long term, the systems that you all keep alive are the systems that are going to save the world. Our system is going to destroy the world. That is the reality of nowadays. So you are in the right chapter. Yeah, you are the solution. And yes, the only thing that I wish you all, that as soon as you start to be aware that you are in the system that basically carries the future of the earth in its hands, the battle is fierce because capitalism is still ruling the show. They make the laws, they make the trade agreements, they make the tariffs, they make your legislation, yeah? And they make the compliance which you need to supply to. But in the end, if you start to fight that and debate that, then know one thing, that's what I learned from social movements. You must be aware that you are not alone. That's the
Perfect.
only message. Start the day with saying to yourself, I am not alone. Yeah. There are
Um,
billions of people with you that are suffering and fed up with the capitalist neoliberal system that we created. And it is ending. The collapse is now. Yeah, the collapse of capitalism in its way that it was plundering earth until there was nothing left is ending now under our eyes. And in order to deal with that emotionally, to see the suffering of the earth, to see the businesses still continue to do business as usual, that can be carried if you are aware that you are not alone. We are with you as a very small drop in that ocean of business. There are people around that understand that what you are doing has the future and is the future. And that means globalization like we do right now. Don't put your cards on it. Grow for your local population. Grow food for your local supply. And in case you can sell to your neighbor country first, but not automatically to the Western world that will push you into structures that are still based on colonized attitudes in which they would not call it colonization anymore. Yeah.
mm,
And that is where I think you must be aware as soon as you enter that arena, these forces will come to you, and then you must also be strong enough to answer them. And then you realize that also people in the West understand what you are fighting for.
mhm. It's amazing to hear that. Just before ending, I want to share with you, I was having a discussion with a sociologist who
Mm-hmm,
studies the rural development and characteristics here in Latin America.
mm-hmm.
And hearing from you from a business perspective and hearing from him from an academic perspective, from a studying perspective, the answers are the same.
Mm.
And it's very interesting to see the understanding from different people from different world, business and academics, saying the same for solutions or for strategies for smallholders or from organizations. Focus locally,
Yeah,
strength your
yeah,
local market, strength your local people before looking to exports or other things, because you will find in the long term more resilience, more sustainability, and more impact. Because when we
exactly.
deliver local impact, we are also contributing for global impact, right? We don't
Exactly.
need
Yeah, of
to
course. Yeah,
impact everything. And there was one expression said by him. You mentioned here, like we are in capitalism, neoliberal. I like that also to share. He says like we are not neoliberal anymore. We are illiberal. There is
yeah.
nothing anymore. It's
True.
like illiberal things. So when we think
Totally
we are
with,
in,
yes.
yes, and when we look to the daily life, it's real. It's
Yeah.
illiberal society with no scruples, no rules,
No,
nothing.
no,
And then
absolutely.
we look to each other as a smallholder farmers, and then we look to you as a business mindset that we would love to work with. And come on, let's stick to each other and move together. So
Yes.
I want to thank you very much, Ronald. You don't, maybe
Yes.
I don't know if you are aware or not, but your story, your life experiences is much, much inspiring for us as
Mm,
organization,
thank
for
you.
us as smallholder farmers. what you have been doing for these years and all the path that you are building on for us. It's very important. I wish I told you we could have like I will put Ronald for the president of these international agencies. Imagine you guys giving the guidance and giving the criteria for
The organic
funding,
Che yeah.
oh my God. I don't know if you could survive on these atmospheres, but would be a dream to have you there pitching and pushing.
Thanks for the compliment. But we would love to have you all to speak with our farmers about how you do things in your way. But thanks for the compliment. It's absolutely taken in, and it's it does a lot to me. Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for accepting and to join. We have other activities together. Soon we will.
Next week we have the launch of the Crisis Is Now platform. So also perfect. Daniel, thanks for being with us and supporting the meeting. And
then we are also looking forward to keep strengthening this collaboration, to keep raising discussions, bringing important topics, also sharing with each other how we can support and grow together. Otherwise, there is no sense.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time and participation. We hope you found this session both informative and valuable. For further inquiries, partnership opportunities, or to learn more about becoming a member of the Inter-Continental Network of Organic Farmers Organizations, we encourage you to visit our website. You can also stay updated on our latest news and upcoming events by following us on our social media platforms. Thank you, and see you at our next event.